Hello again, my lovely. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. Today I want to share with you a present I compiled for my friend, and getting right into it, I have all the ingredients lying on my desk, and here's the Brayer from Gel Press. The jelly print Brayer is similar, but I got this one from a local art store. And here we have the hand sanitizer that you can use to clean your Brayer and your gel plate. You can also wash it with warm water and soap. And here's the gel plate I bought for her. It's a smaller size, but it's a good size to start. And I included a stencil from Alexandra Renke that I had and that I think she may like. Then I had bought paint, and I opened the package to see what is inside, and it's kind of disappointing to see the smaller tubes, even though the content of course is listed on the package. Is 30 milliliters, which is enough to start and to try out and to find which colors you like, I suppose. So here I'm looking for the description and the color information basically, and here I'm showing where you can find the color information on other paints. These are not professional paints, but they still have the pigment information, and they have an indication of how transparent a color is. In this case it's supposed to be opaque, and also the lightfastness, which is quite important. On those Amsterdam tubes it's quite, I think it's visible the most, and the pigment information is where the barcode is, so I didn't really point that out, but it's there. And these are hobby paints, so they don't have that information, at least not on these packages. But as I say, it's something to start out with. And here I have the Brayers again. So this one I already showed you, and yeah, you can rest it on the back or the top. And the one I use the most has a wire. It's just made of wire basically, and as you can see it pulls out, and it also has the little feet. And here's a new one. This is how it looks when it's new, unused. This red one comes in different sizes, and here I have an example of a smaller size that also comes out, of course, and has the same feet. And then here is one from Tim Holtz that I bought. They have two sizes, and this is a larger one. It's around 10 centimeters, I would say. And the additional thing is that it has these plastic feet, but I don't see why you need them. To me, they are no added bonus. And here's a smaller one that doesn't come out, that I think you can only use for things like stamping to do with oil-based paints, I would say, that you can clean off completely. Whereas the Brayers that I use, I don't really clean them. I just let the paint build up on it. but you can wash them in warm soap water and it does clean off some of the paint. I just don't do it, that's all. So here I'm trying to show that you can cut your own templates or stencils from cardboard or anything that's made of paper, and the sample package of the pencil that I have lying there is a perfect one because that paper is coated with some, well, it's very shiny, so that works even better as a stencil. And here is my gel plate that I recently bought. So this is what I'm going to open and use, because of course I'm going to send the new plate to my friend. And here I'm struggling to open this package. It's even harder on the larger packets, I'd say, because I have all kinds of plates. They come in smaller sizes, in packs of 3, and in larger sizes, and they're all square. And this is the only round one as far as I know. So what I do is I take out the packaging, or the leaflet I should say, and of course I read it thoroughly. All the instructions are there, how to use it, how to clean it, printing tips, and the storage, of course. And then it has some cautionary paragraphs. Stop the video if you like to look at it in more detail. And here we have the links for social media, and it's well worth a visit to see what they have on their channels. There's so much inspiration there. So what I do is I take the sleeve and leave it outside of the box and just put some sellotape there to keep it in place, and then to remove the mylar from the plate. Apparently if you leave it, the plate may stick to it. I have not experienced that, and I usually do store my plates on the mylar. But once again, I was reading that you should not. But if you do, or if you just store it in the shell as they advise, you must make sure that there are no bubbles under the plate once you close it or leave it. So here I'm starting with a very light color, silver, that is opaque, of course, it's metallic, and I will use the same tools that I'm sending to my friend, so don't be surprised if you see me using the same tools all over again throughout the whole video. And here I'm showing you how to brayer. This will repeat itself as well, of course, but I will leave timestamps so that you can forward the video if you think you got the gist or if you are an experienced user of jelly plates. So I use household items, but I also use embossed papers, mostly papers I have embossed with my embossing folders, because anything that has a surface structure will leave a mark on the jelly plate, and therefore it is very nice to use, and the more items you have, the more variation you can add to your jelly prints. So here I'm just printing off the silver on white paper, which looks very nice, and you could use this as a background for a card or a tag, or for anything, you know, you can use paper for, basically. So I'm using a scrap piece of paper to pick up the rest of the silver paint, and I love using this tissue paper, as you will see in the rest of the video. So I'm carrying on with the next technique, which is also using the silver as the first coat. And with jelly printing, what you apply first is actually what will be visible on the print when you finally get the print off the plate. But let me not rush ahead. Let's go ahead with the process first. So I'm pressing down these embossed papers lightly, but the pressure is not the same everywhere, so it varies a little bit, but that adds to the charm, I find. And here I'm using this tool that I simply cut from cardboard, randomly cut some pieces out. And here, well, I'm letting this plate dry, but before I leave it, I'm going in with a leftover spool of some sellotape to add some circles. So now the paint is dry, and I'm coming in with some processed cyan and yellow, because cleaning out the top of the tube here, and you can just throw that in the rubbish. So I'm putting out too much yellow, as you'll see in a minute, and adding the cyan to make turquoise. It looks quite turquoisey now, but in real life it did look too green. And so I added some more cyan, and there you can see it looks quite turquoisey, but it's too dark for my taste. So I'm adding some white. It's mixing white, and lighten it up like that. And that also has the added bonus that it makes the paint a little more opaque. And I'm just applying the paint with my spatula, and it's not very well mixed, but it doesn't matter to me. It's okay if there's a little variation in the color. As you see, I'm rolling the brayer in one direction mainly to distribute the paint evenly, and I'm cleaning the brayer off on a page in an old book that I have, that I thought I could use for collaging later. And here comes the toilet roll with fun foam that I die cut in my die cut machine, and glued to the toilet roll. And that makes a continuous nice pattern, I think. Next up is a tool that I got from some packaging. It's actually honeycomb cardboard, if that's the name. I peeled the top off and it revealed this very nice honeycomb pattern. So I'm waiting for the plate to dry again, and in the meantime I'm trying to mix the paint properly and keep it moving so it doesn't dry. And here I'm testing if the plate is dry, and it's almost there. So I'm coming back with the white, and this time adding the paint right to the plate. I wish I had moved that little plate that seems in the way. Now I got some green paint on there. And what you should note is that the paint has to be rolled out very thinly, and I'm rolling off the brayer in between and thereby taking paint off the plate again, which is the most effective when you want to take a good print. Now you can press quite firmly when you lay the paper down. Making a mess here. Anyhow, you can stroke it and caress it and press it. I think it's quite a nice process. I like doing it, so I think I'm not alone in that. So here I'm checking if the paint has adhered to the paper. You can feel, with some papers you can feel that the moisture is kind of drying on the other side, but the edge didn't come off. However, I think I got a really good print of the rest of the plate. So next I'm putting down the rest of the paint that I had. I think I didn't mix some more white into it. And this time I didn't put any silver underneath, I believe. Now here I have a lot of paint, but I'm leaving it on there. I think maybe a little bit too much. So coming back with my embossed paper, and now I'm using some tablet packages. I'm only using that side, the top side if you will, but you can of course use both sides to make patterns. I didn't really think of it at the time. And this is my first tissue print that I'm taking. And here you can really feel the moisture, and you can feel once it's drying a little bit, and it's taking a perfect print, and you can see the pattern through it, so that's really nice. So now I want to add a complementary color and show how you can use a different method of applying paint for prints. And I'm using a different brayer to in order not to mix the cool and the warm colors on one brayer. As you will see later, the blue brayer is still quite moist, and the paint may come off, and then of course change the lovely orange. So here I'm using a stencil, or a mask if you will, that I created. It's cut from paper, and therefore it's a little frayed at the edges, but it works like a charm. And making sure that I'm rubbing in the little spaces so the paper picks up the paint that's there in the smaller spaces. I'm not going into too much detail here because since this is a paper stencil, not a lot of residue is left on the plate, only a little bit, enough to make a pattern. On a plastic stencil you would have much more paint remaining under the stencil once you remove it from the plate. But since I don't have, I'm not using a plastic stencil or mylar stencil, so, but you can see there is some paint there, you can see the pattern, of course. And this is where I apply two types of paint, so complementary colors that are opposite of the color wheel. If you are into colors and if you want to make good artworks using the jelly prints, or any kind of artwork really, I believe that it's a good thing if you do get a color wheel. I'm not showing it here, but I have one that's always in reach when I work, and it helps in order not to create mud. Or if you want to make a different color, like green for instance here, you can see that orange and turquoise makes the perfect green for any plants or such like. So here I'm not so much, I'm using the roll again, but I'm not rolling it across, so it's not very successful. You could transfer the blue to the orange and vice versa, which I did somehow a little bit, but I'm not doing it so very well here. There are artists online who do a much better job at that. So you can stamp into one color and transfer it to the other, or you can stamp it off as I did there. So I'm using the spare print, or the surplus I would say, to print this, and as you can see you can create green with it. Now I'm showing you how to clean your plate. Of course this plate is not very dirty yet, but I just wanted to demonstrate how you can clean it. As I said before, you can also wash it under warm water once the paint is still a little bit moist, but then you would have a wet plate, and I wanted to carry on, and therefore I cleaned it. And the other thing I didn't mention is that I'm using a craft mat. It's a white one, and it's similar to an oven baking sheet, so you could use that as well and rest your plate on it, and then any colors that are smeared on it can be removed quite easily because it's silicone coated. And here you can see that the blue brayer is losing a lot of blue paint in the silver that I'm putting down. So imagine that would have gotten into the orange. It wouldn't have been very nice. So here I'm once again coming in with the embossed folders, and this one here is a silver print where you can't see it so well, but the pattern is of some tropical leaves, and I really love that. It does leave a beautiful pattern on the plate. So I'm adding this to the print I did before over the top of the light blue. I'm not showing you this because I want to hurry up a little to get the ghost print onto this other paper. Sometimes you can get two prints of one application. And I have cut some bits out that were not successful, or repetitive I should say. And now adding more turquoise. One thing I must say is that a new plate beats the paint up quite drastically. It's not so much visible here. I think the white in the paint, it depends on which white I'm using, but the opaque white doesn't beat up so much. Later on I use the mixing white and it beats up terribly. So here you can see a bit more of the exotic leaves pattern. And back and forth what to use and where to put it. And since I don't have one that's large enough for the whole plate, of course you always have to mix and match the different patterns. And once again I got almost all of the paint off with my print. Lovely. Very happy with it. So now I'm doing another print with different colors, or opposite colors, complementary colors I should say, but I went about it the wrong way. I should have rolled out the blue first, as you will see in a moment. Because it's dry for a start, and now I can't get to it without mixing the colors. So this one is a bit of a dud. But anyhow, when you use the paper for collage, you may still get a little bit that you can actually use, or that is just the right color for what you need. So here I'm using my homemade spiral and this piece that was cut from the pencil. Sorry, I'm lost for words. Anyhow, it's not that successful, I would say, because it's soaking up the paint and not leaving much of a pattern behind at the moment. So I'm putting part of it overlapping onto that tissue paper. But I'm not so happy with the print, apart from the bit that is orange there. That's really nice. Luckily I have a lot of tissue paper that I can use for printing. So I'm coming in again, and this time I'm showing how you can divide the plate into two colors. I'm using an orange and an ultramarine this time, which is a little more reddish and still makes a brownish green when it's mixed with the orange, of course. So here I'm using a print that I did that was not successful in what I tried to achieve, and well, the spiral does show up. I would say it's mildly successful. But you can always use these prints to layer later, which is what I'm doing with this one now. And to my surprise, the spiral does show up quite well, actually. By now my hands look disgusting, but the good thing about acrylic is that it does wash off very easily, even though it does stay on the nail varnish, but everything else washes off perfectly, so that's a good thing. Or scrapes off the mat that I mentioned earlier. So now I have some magazine papers lying on my book, so I'm using that to clean my brayer. And here you can see the pattern that this cardboard the name escapes me right now. The cardboard that is honeycomb. Honeycomb cardboard, perhaps? Anywho, of course this video is so long. I'm not sure if anyone will watch it, but I like to watch these process videos. So I'm thinking maybe someone else would like it too. I made this for my friend, as I said, but I posted a different version for her that only she can see. And I thought I could use this as a video to instruct people who are very new to this in general. So now it's a dark blue that it's translucent. I really like the color. It's, I think, Prussian blue, but a dark Prussian blue. So I don't know the name right now, as I'm doing the voiceover. But you can see the pattern of this tropical leaf embossed paper. And I'm adding it on top of this one that I've done before. A lot of layers usually look good, even though that would have been good on its own already. I hope you can see the patterns. So the same blue again. And this time I thought I would like to add some dark paint to these lighter colors or colored prints. And of course I am rushing a little bit in order for the paint to still lift off. And I'm using the same print again to put this darker color on top. I'm not sure if that was such a wise decision, but anyhow, you will see once it comes out. It's always a nice surprise when you pull the print and you see that some of the dark has been deepened, and you can still see all the patterns. I do wish I had left it though. So now I've cleaned everything, and starting again with the silver. I'm sticking to these colors because my friend whom I made the video for originally, she likes light blue, turquoise, these kind of color ranges, and silver. And I do think it's good if you ever do a printing session that you look for colors that are harmonious and stick to those, and try out all kinds of things. I think that gives you a good start with your materials. And it keeps you from creating muddy prints, of course. I have added different papers to my friend's package so she can try it out, but I really, as I said before, like this transparent tissue paper because I want to make a collage later. This printing took me very long and in the end I had to rush to get the package to the post, and therefore didn't film the actual packing up, which is a kind of a regret now, but it couldn't be helped. And here you can see the beading of this particular white color quite well. So here I'm using an anti-slip mat that you can use in your car or your cupboard, and it gives a kind of a pattern of a fish scale, I think. And this is a pan for my watercolors that I'm using to print some squares. You can hardly see it. So quickly lifting off the paint, and this one I will leave white so I can use bits of it later in my collage. Comes off beautifully. So I'm using the edge or the corner to pick up a few specks that were left on the plate. And here you can see the pattern, hopefully. Now on to a different technique that the jelly plate is ideal for, and that is the color gradient So I'm using a light pink, a mid-value pink, and a dark magenta, or magenta, which is quite dark when it comes out of the tube as a mass tone, but in the end you will see it's not as dark as I thought, or as it comes out on a print actually. So you can still see the gradient, but on the print it gets lost. And of course the pink is a cool color, and I think it goes with the color scheme. You can actually walk away, you don't need to stay by the print and pull it right away. People have been known to pull prints and that have been left on the plate overnight, but in this case it's just not necessary. It's just one layer and it comes off the plate beautifully again. Love it. Oh, the pink is so beautiful, but as you can see there's no more gradient. I'm trying another gradient with medium or dark yellow with a medium orange, and then a darker orange. I have these tiny tubes of the Amsterdam acrylic. They are really good to try out colors. They have all the information, and of course they last longer than you would think. Even though they're tiny tubes, they last quite a while. Here I should have rolled off the light yellow, but anyhow I think you can still see a good gradient. We'll see how it comes out as a print. So I'm scraping the paint and it does collect quite a bit. This stippling didn't really make any difference, I must say. Anyhow, the paint comes out quite thick where the edge of the scraper collects it, basically. So of course, where the paint was thick, there's a lot of paint left, and I'm picking this up with the next sheet. And as you can see, it doesn't matter how crinkled the paper was. Of course, due to the moisture in the plate or in the paint, it smooths out perfectly. And here's another type of paint that is also very good to use, and that is iridescent paint. It doesn't show up much on white paper, only if you tilt it, I would say, and therefore it is best used on top of dark paint or a dark print, of course. So now, as you can see, I'm adding cyan on top of the iridescent paint. And coming in with the dark blue as well. And here you can see that if you roll over the paint too long, you may take off the paint again, and therefore I have almost three holes in the blue paint. But it doesn't matter, it's just something to try, and as I say, I will use those papers for collage anyway, so you don't need a perfect print. And I'm printing over the scrap that I made earlier. And this time I didn't leave it too long, so I was able to pull off most of the paint anyhow. And you can see the iridescent shine, but it's completely transparent. Last but not least, I want to try a technique that you can do with laser prints or newsprint, and preferably you use a very high contrast paper or pictures. You can also use writing. And I'm using some of the older paint I have, which has become quite dry in the meantime, so I'm mixing it with my newer Amsterdam paint to create a black, almost black background that I can put my newsprint in. And I'm taking off some paint because I have too much on there, and you need to have just the right amount basically. Unfortunately, I forgot to show the picture. And because I have some edges sticking out, I'm using a scrap paper to not rub into it. And there you can see that there has been residue left on the plate, and you can see a face, but it's not perfect. And now I'm using a dark paper that I created earlier to take the print off the plate, which I might have used a light colored one, so you'd be able to see the picture better. In this case, a black model. And the other thing is that this new plate created all these little bubbles, and the print came out, well, unusable really, but it's worth a try, and I wanted to show the technique because I think it's quite baffling. Now on to the next item for my friend. It's a sketchbook that I ordered from Amazon. It's a watercolor sketchbook, and it's quite rough. I do like the deckled edges and the concertina format. The paper is supposed to be 100% cotton, although I did detect a few enclosures. However, it's not very sized, so it soaks up the liquid quite drastically, and I guess that is what it's made for. I'm using quite a bit of water to dilute the paint, and on the other hand, I do like the traces of paint that it leaves when you just dry brush across the page. I don't really have a plan here. I just want to create a background to do the first page, and I'm planning to gift this instead of a birthday card. As you know, if you do use sketchbooks, it's always hard to create the first page, and therefore I thought I'd take that step for my friend. I'm using a water-soluble pencil to make some marks, and in some cases where the paint is not quite dry yet, it scratches the paint away, but I find it's not very effective anyhow, so I'm using a water-soluble pencil here. This creates a good contrast and is much better to use because it's visible, contrary to the other pencil. I'm also trying the black water-soluble pencil, which works quite well. I'm not really used to making these abstract pieces. So it's a nice experience for me as well. So coming in with some orange. It's a little bit darker than the orange I used in my printing process. And now trying to see how it floats, which it doesn't much, with these water-soluble pencils. And next I'm putting out some matte medium on my craft mat to adhere the paper. I'm using different techniques, cutting and tearing, as you saw, to get some pieces of this tissue paper. I am using a little bit of water with the matte medium and sometimes applying it to the paper directly or to, the sketchbook paper directly, but mostly to the tissue paper. And the sketchbook paper soaks up this matte medium so that you need to use a lot. Anyhow, I'm leaving you to watch this as I stick down different papers in different areas. In between I need to top up the amount of matte medium that I have on my mat because I need so much of it. In the package I have included a glue stick, and I'm not sure if a glue stick would really work there with this paper. But I prefer to use matte medium. I'm not used to using a glue stick, So I will find out what my friend thinks and if she likes to use the glue stick. And I may use it again for my journal in the future. I could have used a spatula here, but as I say, the paper is so rough, you need a brush to get into that, I think. I hope you don't mind me showing you the whole process, but as I said before, you can skip ahead if you like. But if you like watching me, then you may want to let me know. I would appreciate it. And yeah, I'm carrying on with some strips from the dark paper. I'm contemplating what to do. I don't want to make it look like I put a cross in there, and trying to make it look pleasing. So here you can see that not much is visible of the pattern on the dark paper. So I should have, as I said before, not printed over it again. So to add some flowers, I'm going to use one of the papers that I thought didn't come out at all. Using some orange bits here. Or maybe, yeah, I am. And now I'm looking for flowers. Making sure that the edges are stuck down well. It's amazing how sturdy the tissue paper is, really. And here I've cut some raindrops, and we live in the north of Germany, so raindrops are common here. But they could also stand for the wish that the creativity may thrive and be watered by my package. My friend's creativity, that is. And as you can see, that is the white print I'm using here. The pattern on it is quite interesting, I'd say. So to complete my little collage, I'm adding another white piece, and then I think I'm going to add a silver piece at the bottom there. Maybe it's white. I'm not 100% sure about that one now. So now I'm off to my computer and cutting out her name from the silver paper that I painted with that same silver, and to cut out her name. And when I returned, I thought I could add something else to this spread. So I'm using the dark blue to add some leaf motifs as accents to my layout. So spraying some water on the paint because it's too dry. And what I do is I use a kitchen sponge, and this is a paper stencil from Faber-Castell that I ordered from the US because you cannot buy this in Germany. I've sped up this footage a little bit, and now it's done. And next when I came back, I thought I could use my papers to cover the front of this sketchbook, which is what I did. I also used matte medium to cover it, and now I'm cutting off the edges, and I will add her name on the front as well. So this is the sketchbook done for the moment. And here you can see Christina, that's her name, on the front cover in silver, and also on the inside, finishing off my spreads. So thank you so much for watching. Leave me a comment saying happy birthday Christina if you watched it until the end, and I'm glad you did. Please leave me a thumbs up or a thumbs down depending on what you thought of the video, and then I'll see you again next time, probably with an unboxing of the Alexandra Renke box, which will arrive mid-February. So take care until then, and do what you love. Ta-da!